Hello, welcome to Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. It's a hot take show. Okay, so get yourself a cup of tea, or maybe even not that. Maybe go get yourself some milk. So we're about to get some spicy red hot takes today. All right, so what are we talking about? Okay, so let's try and slow it down a little bit. Age of Sigmar or Games Workshop have released their monthly update. So Age of Sigmar, the game, is now going to get monthly updates to their games. And they did say they were going to do this, and I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of opinions about this, or maybe not. Maybe this is such a lukewarm subject, no one really cares. I think if you're a more casual player, you might be like, it doesn't really affect me. And that answer is absolutely true. If you are someone who only casually plays, most updates, or even any rules changes particularly, don't overly matter. Paint your models, have a great time, go play some games with your friends. Doesn't really matter. I guess, really, people who this may or may not affect. Let's talk about the positives and the negatives and the people that this may affect. I think the positives and the negatives kind of go into matter because of who they affect. The people who they affect are people who are probably building and buying units because they want to use them in some sort of setting. Now, a lot of people are going to, in the comments below, and I would love to know what all of your comments are. Leave them in the comments below. Leave them there. People are going to be like, this is on power gamers or meta chasers, which aren't things that are real, FYI. There are people who will recognize that this unit, like for instance, you might play Slaves to Darkness, and you might be like, I absolutely love the Dark Oath stuff, but unfortunately you recognize that Varangard are just much, much better than your Dark Oath stuff. So you might pick yourself up a bunch of Varangard. Now, if next month they took away Fight Twice off they took Fight Twice off of Bestigor, not damn it. If they took Fight Twice off of Varangard, then Varangard wouldn't be as effective. And you might not even want to play them at your local club. You might not want to play them at a local event. You might not want to play them at a tournament, right? So these are all things that don't just affect like competitive gamers, they do also impact casual gamers or gamers who just want to pick a cool unit. Because you might want to pick Varangard because they're like super good in combat and they're really aggressive and they fight twice and they smash, and that's great. But are Varangard too good for what they do? The answer simply is yes, because their pick rate is so high. Or are they too good compared to the other units inside Slaves to Darkness? The answer is yes. Also, on the flip side of this, you also have a meta when it talks when we're talking about like the tournament scene or the gaming scene, and that meta really lets us know which armies are too good compared to other armies. And you have that in win rates. We post those on the Honest Wargamer, and we have seen that Nighthaunt previously and LRL last month had a higher win rate than Nighthaunt, were too good. They were much better than other armies. There are also a bunch of other armies that are worse, but Games Workshop in the monthly update we've just had didn't do anything to address the worst performing armies. But what they did do was they have an effect on the LRL, Lumineth Realm Lords, and how effective they would be. And they are crazy good. Like, I did a tier show. You can go back and watch that video, and you'll see that I put LRL in the S rank. They are too good. Like, Broken, I think, is actually where I actually put them. They're just crazy, crazy good. And so we don't have to wait until January or February. And January is actually a really important month in the Age of Sigmar calendar. You have at least 2 massive events, 3 really, depending on the time. But in America, you have Las Vegas Open. In Australia, you have CanCon. And then in England, you have this event called Brotherhood, which is like a team event. Those 3 events are pretty major with, maybe up to 1,000 Age of Sigmar players playing across all of those events. Also my Christmas one-dayers, which are also an important Age of Sigmar calendar date. But, it could be the situation where over the next 3 months leading up to those events, people would have been playing with maybe a very stable meta. And then what we've seen in the past is Games Workshop weren't able to do a balance update just before those big events because they maybe would have negatively impacted them. With monthly updates, you do end up with a situation where those changes are more incremental leading into it. And I have an event, time of recording, which is a Wednesday. I'm going to be running an event this weekend. In the WhatsApp group I have for my event, a couple of people messaged me. I know, shout out to Josh, who's playing LRL this weekend. And he was like, Rob, are these changes going to be in effect? And I was like, look, Josh, if you're the only person playing it, how do you feel about playing with the changes? And he was like, yeah, do you mind if I change my list? And I was like, no, that's fine. Right? And he was like, cool, that's not a problem. Which is cool. It's only going to be 20 or so people, so I'm able to like be a little bit responsive, and I have a really good relationship with the people who play at my events. So I was able to have that conversation. But it's going to be the same conversation lots of tournament organizers are going to have all around the country, and people might not have really chill players like Josh. Instead, they might have really aggressive people like, no, I want to play my final game with the list I've been playing with. So those tournament organizers are also going to be negatively affected, but also the tournament players are going to be negatively impacted by these monthly updates because they're going to have to change their lists or change what they were planning on doing. You might have booked a hotel, you might have booked travel, it might be running into the hundreds of pounds, dollars, yen, whatever it might be. It might be lots of money before you go and commit to this thing, and then something just changes in the last minute of the month. That's a huge negative. I want to be really clear about that being a huge negative. However, for everyone else that was potentially going to attend this event, knowing that LRL, which are too strong, are a little less strong, I personally don't think that there's much change at all, but are a little less strong, and therefore they might be able to have more fun games, actually a positive. Actually a healthy positive, because you would have 3 months of them being too strong, or bang, now you've got 2 more months where, and in a month's time, you're like, do you know what, they might address another unit. That's actually pretty good, right? I personally think that has a better effect on the mental landscape, has a better effect on the conversation that we all have online, in your Discord, your Facebook groups, your, unfortunately, Twitter, if you're still there like me. Like, in those different places where you are talking about the game, those conversations should probably be gearing towards more positive. They should be, do you know what? That's good. That's changed. LRL players might be like, that's cool. Like, I'm going to pivot to playing more Dawn Riders. Now, shout out to my friend Gitley in the chat who said earlier, he's like, but why would I pivot to Dawn Riders? Because now I might be concerned that they're going to change the rules for Dawn Riders. I think that's a really fair point as well. It's a really fair point. You ask yourself, okay, I'm a little bit scared about buying any units because they might get a change at any point every month. And buying and building and painting a unit in a month is already a big ask. So the real question you got to ask yourself is, how do you want to buy your minis, and how do you already buy your minis anyway? I personally have always said that you should buy your minis as a collection. If you like an army, you should probably buy the minis that you like from that army and play with them. If you want to win, which is very different to, I want to just collect some cool stuff. If you want to win, then being a part of that cycle and grind is already something that you're conscious of. Rules updates happen anyway, for a bunch of different reasons. Battle scroll updates change stuff around. A new battle tome release can completely and drastically change a meta. So if you are someone who wants to win games, you're already conscious of staying on top of these things anyway. If you're a casual person, I really don't think it makes any difference. Like, a points being changed in 3 months is no different to it being changed every month. But let's also talk about the impact of this change. A monthly update would be pretty drastic if it was the same size as the battle scroll updates, which, FYI, I've always considered to be very minimal. I've always considered to be the battle scroll update that we just had to be very light touch. And I have criticized Games Workshop several times about those light touch updates, and I still think that they're very light touch. This is basically a zero touch. I've made a video about it. I'm making this follow-up video about it, and honestly, I feel like I'm like fanning the flames. The changes are to effectively 4 units in the game. In fact, Belladama got a little bit better, so 5. Out of all of the war scrolls that exist, we're really talking about the nerf hitting 1 army, and that nerf hitting only 3 war scrolls in that singular army. That's literally nothing. Like, in the grand scale of the size of a game, this big, that's nothing. That's a nothing burger that doesn't affect or impact anybody. in my opinion. And if it does impact you and you're like, Rob, that fucking impacted me, I feel like I can't play my army, then okay, then you just had like a singular way that you like to play. I also think your army is still really good. Just FYI, I still think your army is really, 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 really good. But for everyone else, especially for the strong stuff not being as strong, super healthy. It's healthy for the perception, as in like the general conversation and consensus around the game, and it's really healthy for the tournament goers and the event goers, or even your casual club, because someone might be like, oh yeah, I'll play with your foxes. What do they do now? Oh, they're still bullshit. Okay, they still do bullshit stuff, right? So I think that's the thing that we need to talk about. But I think the main point I'd like to talk about in this video is that a lot of people are going to have a lot of feelings about monthly updates. They're going to say it's too quick. You know, I'm only a casual player. I only play every 6 months. Then it doesn't. None of it matters to you. Like none of it. If you play one game every 6 months, then your game should not be about whether or not you win or lose. I'm sorry to say that to you. I don't mean to be like an elitist, and that's not what I'm trying to be. I'm trying to say that like your game of 2 or 3 hours or however long it's going to be every 6 months should just be a fun game that you're having with your friend. You don't play enough to have developed any skills to be competent at the game. You aren't doing enough to be involved in the game at a structure where it really matters what the conclusion of that game is. The conclusion, the impetus for that game should be to have fun with the miniatures that you have. That's what it should be. Like, and I don't feel like I should teach you this, but like, you know, some people need to hear it. In addition, if you are playing every weekend, every week, all these other things, then you already know what the situation is. I guess this majorly affects people who are like one faction players. I only play this single faction, and that faction's my jam, and I love that faction, and I love these specific models from this faction. Unfortunately, welcome to Games Workshop games. Games Workshop do not make games that are like, great products ultimately. They're like, and I've said this before, they're not works of art. They're the Fast and the Furious franchise. They're like, they're going out to McDonald's, nailing a Big Mac, watching the Fast and Furious, and then drinking some Jaeger bombs afterwards. They're just pure adrenaline junkie games. Like, so many of the different units are mismatched. So many different battle tomes are mismatched to each other. The models are sick. The lore is cool. The community is amazing. These are all A-star, A-star, A-star reviews. But you can't go into this thinking that every unit is viable, because that's never been something that works in Age of Sigmar. It's never been something that's true. I've never seen that be something that has worked. So I want to be really clear about that in case you thought that was. But monthly updates gets us a little closer to that. Probably never. That's why I was always critical of those light touch battle scroll updates, because I was like, it's never done enough. I've never, it's never gone in and addressed this unit or that unit, or it's never enough for me, and that's why I've criticized them, because I would like, same as you, probably, I would like the game to be that I could pick up any army or unit and it work and it have a chance of winning the game. But it's just not very realistic. Or maybe it is realistic. Maybe I'm an idealist. I don't know. Maybe you're an idealist. I don't know. Maybe it should be, but monthly updates gets a little bit closer to that, which I think is good. But I think people are going to have loads of really negative feelings about monthly updates. And I would just like to address them. And I think I'm going to settle on the side of, I think monthly updates are very healthy. I think that's very good, especially when they're light touch like this, like sensationally light touch. Let's put again into context. It's like 4 units, like maybe 5. Belladama got a little bit better. Like if you're someone who loves Belladama and Direwolves, yay. And also, I mean, that's also a massive negative. Like that monthly update, really you should be asking yourself, why didn't your Ironjaw's army get loads of new rules? Like, what the fuck is going on there? Why didn't Deepkin get a little bit more? What happened? There's a bunch of stuff there that, you're leaving off the table. So I think I just wanted to make I wanted to make a video about this, have a conversation, see what you think. Create a space where everyone can have a conversation about like what they think about these updates, and if I love them and I think it's great long term. I think that's really positive. And I hope it's been an okay conversation. Let me know what you think. Me and the chat have had like a big conversation about it as well. We've had loads of convos about this, and we've like really deep dive what we think, but I'd like to know what you think. And, we are a community of people who play this game. I play this game. I actively run events in this game. I do coverage of this game. It's not like I'm not part of this community, as are you. So let me know what you think. You know, like the only way that we can all really build this game, build this community together is by having these conversations, telling each other what we think, sharing those conversations, and then going and playing games with each other, which is what we should be doing. Thanks for watching my video. Hope you liked it. If you didn't like it, you can tell me that as well, I guess. But thanks for watching. See you soon. Goodbye.